trading day. It's 25 minutes until the close of trade, this last full trading day before the end of the year. Now, Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull says the Royal Commission into union corruption has uncovered the type of behaviour everyone knows exists within the union movement, calling on Labor to support legislation proposed by the Commission. For more on the final report into trade union corruption, I'm joined by Wilhelm Hamich, the CEO of the Master Builders Australia. Now, Wilhelm, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, this is the major story that we're building to today. We have had this report handed down, and the government looks like it's clearly going to push once again for the ABCC to be reinstated. This has already faced the Senate once and was knocked back. Do you think they're potentially setting up a divisive election based on this issue, and is there any real hope of it actually passing through the Senate?
Look, the importance of the ABCC is the fact that when it was in existence and then abolished, was that the ABCC was a very effective body in dealing with the sorts of behaviours that have now become more pronounced since the powers of the ABCC have been diminished. And it's important that the evidence that has been put before the Royal Commission and in terms of the recommendations by Justice Hayden is taken heed of, particularly by the crossbench senators, because the crossbench senators need to realise that they're doing the community a massive favour if they were to vote for this, because if the Parliament is to fail to vote for the changes, it means that the community will become forever hostage to the building unions in terms of additional cost, and therefore it's important that the ABCC bill in its current form be reconsidered and passed by the Senate.
The ABCC's replacement, the Fair Work Building and Construction Organisation, still has the ability to investigate disputes within the construction industry. Why do we still need a standalone body with the powers, these almost super judicial powers to investigation to handle the construction industry? Why can't it just be handled, as it is with all other industries, by the Fair Work Commission?
Certainly that would be the aim, but what the Royal Commission has found, along with the Coal Royal Commission and other Royal Commissions, is that behaviours of the CFMEU are extraordinary. They are behaviours that are institutionalised. It's ingrained. It's behaviours that can lead to criminality and corruptions, as was identified and evidence brought before the Royal Commission. They are extraordinary circumstances which require an extraordinary response, and in this case it requires a tough cop on the beat. It requires a tough institutional response to be able to bring those union officials to book. It enables then for fines to be imposed and for hopefully the culture to be changed, because this is what happened when the ABC was in power, was in existence, but which was watered down by the FWBC.
Are you concerned that because of what became the political nature of Commissioner Justice Hayden's involvement, obviously with the scandal relating to him taking up the offer to speak at a Liberal fundraising event, that has damaged the argument going into this year, that the public at large are just going to discount the Royal Commission that has been handed down as just a political witch hunt?
Look, it's not a political witch hunt, and what you need to look at is the palpable evidence that was tabled under oath at the Royal Commission. That can never be refuted. The evidence is compelling. It is evidence given by those who have experienced it. They were not tainted by the sorts of accusations, or they weren't tainted by the accusations of being a witch hunt. They are evidence that was happening on the field, where evidence was provided, and that evidence was irrefutable, and then forms the basis of the recommendations that Justice Hayden came up with, and the recommendations that certainly Master Builders strongly supports.
The argument from the union movement is that if people are breaking the law, we already have the police there and available to do those investigations. How strong is the argument that you need to have this special group set up for the CFMEU? Why don't you just resource police in such a way as to allow them to be able to investigate this more fully? Surely there's a way of doing this without actually setting up a separate entity to deal just with this issue.
superficially that sounds very attractive, but the CFMEU knows why it doesn't work. The reason it doesn't work is because potential witnesses are bullied. Potential witnesses are bullied into not being able to recall the events. They're bullied in not giving evidence, and that's why the police has been unsuccessful in gaining prosecutions. What the ABCC has done is able to force people to give evidence, and that evidence is obviously very vital in gaining prosecutions, and that's why the call to say that this should be referred to the police is hollow and is shallow, and really is an attempt by the unions to circumvent what their behaviours that are simply reprehensible and should be properly dealt with by the ABCC.
The last time we did have an election based strongly on workplace relations, Labor won, partly obviously to repeal work choices, but this was also part of their policy at that point. Aren't you just risking rehashing the 2007 election? Does it not concern you that this may actually give power back to the union movement? They'll be able to run a fair campaign on this. Is that what you're expecting coming into this election year?
Look, this is totally different to work choices. This is about ingrained culture of unlawful behaviour. This is about where the community is being cheated by the CFMEU. This is about where the CFMEU, through enforcing union EBAs, which puts a price premium on contracts of somewhere between 10 and 30%, onto the cost of hospitals and schools. This is what the debate's about. This is not about work choices at all. This is about making sure that the workers can come to work every day without having the fear of being bullied and intimidated. This is where the employer can actually get on with the job and actually build those schools on time and under budget without being threatened and bullied into paying corrupt payments to make sure that the job continues without industrial mayhem. So this is not about work choices. This is about making sure we restore the rule of law on building sites to the benefit of the community and the taxpayer.
Wilhelm, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you for joining Sky News Business.
Thank you.
That was Wilhelm Hanesch, the CEO of the Masters Builders Australia. Now, we are going to return to markets. It is a big day. It's the last day of the trading year. Let's have a look at the currencies and where we're sitting as Australian. The Aussie dollar there sitting at 72.8, slightly off at the moment. And let's bring in Hans Kuhnen, live from St. George. Hans, it is the last full day of the trading year. It's been a pretty disappointing day. The Aussie dollar, though, is still staying up there. Let's have a little recap, if you will, of the year that was and maybe look forward to what we can know. Now, that